You can be talented, reliable, and respected and still stay stuck. When promotions keep slipping through your hands, the real issue is often invisible. This episode brings the unspoken signals into the light so you can move with clarity and confidence. This is the Your Next Success podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Carolyn Sengel. I am a life-first career coach and strategist on a mission to normalize questioning your career, because I believe each of us is made on purpose for a purpose only we can fulfill. The longer we live out of alignment with who we are, what we do best, and why we are here, the more we miss out, and the more the world misses out on what only we can give. The Your Next Success podcast is where we explore how to build a career that truly fuels your life. We talk about self-discovery, smart job search strategies, professional growth, and you will hear stories from people who have navigated big career transitions themselves, so you can create a life-first career and become your own version of authentic success, one that is aligned, meaningful, and truly yours. Keith Anderson is an ex-Meta and DoorDash leader who helps tech professionals get promoted, make bold moves, and lead with AI strategy. He's hired over 100 people and has seen exactly what separates those who move up from those who stay stuck. Now, through his company, Career Alchemy Lab, Keith helps ambitious professionals position themselves as the obvious choice for advancement, whether that's within their current company or in a senior role somewhere new. He's also the author of The 30-Day Career Reboot, a practical guide to rebuilding confidence and career momentum. There is a particular kind of frustration that can quietly change how you see yourself. You're doing the work, you're delivering, you're the person people count on. You hear the praise and you believe it because it matches what you know is true about you. And then you hit the ceiling. You're great, but we need to see more presence. You should advocate for yourself. Maybe next cycle. Vague feedback creates fog. Fog creates second guessing. And over time, a high performer can start shrinking their own expectation of what's possible. This conversation with Keith Anderson is for the person who knows that they have more to give and wants to move up without becoming someone they don't respect. Keith breaks down what leaders are actually responding to when they decide who is safe to elevate. You'll hear why promotions are often decided long before the formal conversation happens, and how you can start sending the right signals with calm authority. If you've been waiting for the system to finally notice you, this episode helps you shift from hoping to leading. Welcome, Keith, to Your Next Success. I am thrilled to be having this conversation with you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Me too. It'll be a great conversation today. Can't wait.
Awesome. Okay, so and I know you and I share a lot of commonalities and the types of things that we want to help serve people with, and we're going to totally get into that and all of the amazing ways that you help people through career transitions and people who want to be able to be leaders, to be able to become leaders through your beautiful supportive community and all your wisdom and things, how you help people. We'll get to that. And let's start way, way, way back. Like, tell me about childhood, like the littlest Keith. What did he love to do? Where did you grow up? What was that like for you?
Yeah. Oh, I love going down memory lane.
Yeah.
So for me, I grew up in a small town on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. Yeah. So like right on the water. But didn't appreciate it as much until I left and I came back. But growing up early on, you know how kids used to play, I don't know, firefighter or policeman type of games. For me, I played like being a teacher.
Oh, yes.
I don't know, with my friends.
No, I did that too. I tried to, like, they were all my students and I was in charge and I tried.
Yeah.
And if friends didn't want to play, I made my stuffed animals do it. They were all good students.
Oh, I did the same thing. Yeah. So I knew early on, like I had that inclination to become a teacher, right? And, I had that desire all through middle school, or elementary to high school. I went to college I got a degree in linguistics and then went into teaching after that,
Interesting.
right?
Okay, I want to dial it back a little bit too.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. I
Okay,
know I
no,
went so
that's fine.
quickly.
That's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, so did you have siblings at all?
No, no. So I'm an only child.
Awesome. And what about um sometimes people end up kind of doing things that generationally as careers people in their family have done. Like what about your parents? What kind of jobs did they have? And what was your vision of what you thought success was from little Keith perspective?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I haven't thought much about it
Yeah.
in that way. So my parents were working class. They were postal inspectors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in New England, and um, they weren't in education at all. That being said, both my parents got master's degrees,
Mhm.
and I remember growing up, my mom always would ask me about education, would really focus on how my grades are, what I'm doing, how I'm growing. And I think that that was also part of the reason why I felt like moving into education was like the next path, right? Because
Mhm.
it had been so ingrained in me
Yeah.
as an early age, right? That your education, having freedom to study and do things that just interest you, not feel bogged down by
Yeah.
society or what other people say. That was just always had been a part of my childhood, both in nature and nurture. I tend to be very much an independent person and creative person on my own too. But my environment also helped me be that as well too. So
Yeah, just like
yeah,
supporting your curiosity and your learning and kind of the
yeah,
importance of doing as well as you can. Now, what about, and
yeah.
so did you have a dream? Like, did you think like success means I have to get a master's degree or yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was early on. It was getting a PhD. And I would say like I didn't realize PhD when I was in elementary school, but I wanted to be like a lifelong learner and lifelong educator. I kind of had that sense when I was even in elementary school. But then in high school, I did plan to get a PhD and I did consider becoming a professor, like a
Wow.
full
Yeah.
fledged professor. I did teach in university, but that's so I kind of started down that path, but decided to pivot. But yeah, that had always been something that had been top of mind for me when I went into college and um, moved in my career. But things change,
Absolutely.
are
If we evolve in our
so
yeah.
exactly.
What about outside of like the structured kind of school environment? What sorts of things were really interested in, were you interested in and fascinated by like activity wise or out of school wise? What lit you up?
Yeah. Yeah. So I used to do a lot of theater, and that really lit me up. I was in over 50 plays when I was in middle school and high school, and then in college as well, too. So, yeah, doing theater has always been always had been a big part of my life. But
Yeah.
then we changed. So I haven't done theater since graduate school, but it's I've had that has been my creative outlet
Yeah.
where I'm able to really embody another character and explore what life is like from a different perspective, which just I think part of a through line in my life has always been on curiosity in the unknown, right?
Yeah.
And um, in the unknown, meaning learning about different cultures, different people, how the how the world works. So theater was a way for me to do that early on, and then I went to college in at the University of Hawaii, which is like
Yeah.
the furthest
Like,
place
were you
away.
just like, I'm gonna get the heck out of Dodge? How far can I possibly go? Because I was like, that was I mean,
Yeah.
that's people's dream. I've never yet been to Hawaii and I want to
You
go,
should go.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you should.
yeah.
It's a great place. So I liked where I grew up on Cape Cod, right? But it's uh very white, right? Very homogenous, right? That being said, it's very accepting of different people, right? So it wasn't well, it, it was very kind of its own culture. And while I really liked it, I wanted something different. I wanted to explore the world, right? And get to know people from different places, learn new things. Hence why I decided to move to Hawaii because I, when you grow up in a place where everyone is very similar to you,
Yeah.
um, you don't know what it's like
Right.
when no one is not, or people aren't similar to you,
Absolutely.
So it was definitely eye opening and a difficult adjustment, but an adjustment that I'm glad that I made to move to Hawaii, where, I was studying linguistics, where, I was studying Russian, Chinese,
Wow.
Mandarin, Korean, Spanish, and German. And then, linguistics is this scientific study of language as well, too. And, with that, it's just like the whole environment there is just a melting pot of people from either they're local and their ancestors came from China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Micronesia, all of that, or they literally came over their first generation. So it was great. In some ways, I don't know how to say this, humbling, I guess, that I was a minority by far, right? Um, and it was just an experience that really shaped my life to become what and who I am today.
Yeah. Now, had you ever visited there before, or you just picked it because of a cool looking pamphlet and got in? And your parents were like, "Sure, Keith, absolutely."
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Well, yeah, it did start with a pamphlet,
Yeah.
right? And like
Right.
doing research online. This is the early days of the internet, so there's just very little. But yeah, I did go with my dad for like 3 days. We did just a really quick hop over a long plane ride to
Yeah.
Honolulu and got a little bit of the feel, but then, I was between University of Hawaii in on in Oahu, right, or Honolulu, and then I was looking at another one of the University of Hawaii campuses on the Big Island, and then a few universities in Massachusetts. But it for what I was looking for, hands down, like
That's
I knew
awesome.
that it was what the direction that I needed to go. So
Wow. Wow. I have a kid.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, college move in from a plane would be very interesting. And yeah, I get, but
Yeah. Well, my parents didn't come with me to move in and they never came to visit me. They're a bit older, right? So I was just on my own there from 18 to I lived there for about 7 years.
wow.
Um,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right. So, when you got your first kind of like job, what was that and where was it?
Well, my first job, I had been working ever since I was 14.
Oh,
So I
wow.
worked at
Yeah.
a pizza place and I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, a gym. And then that was in
To
Massachusetts, then in
combat the
Hawaii.
donuts, like
Oh God.
pizza and donuts, and then it's like,
I
whoa, I need to
know.
work somewhere better, like
I
at the gym.
know, right? Like, oh, this isn't a sustainable life, Didn't want to get too fat, so I needed to work out, get a free membership.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and then when I was in Hawaii to pay bills, like I worked at a restaurant out there. So those are my first jobs that I had. So a lot of, I guess, working class type of roles. My first professional role in education, was in education and teaching. And I was teaching at a high school in Honolulu. And I was young, I was 21 years old, and I teaching high school Spanish and English. And I don't know, it was just funny. I was like, guys, we're all adults. We're all adults. And they like completely steamrolled me. And,
Right.
I needed that experience though, I think, to like get the realities of what teaching education was like, both in K through 12 and then later in teaching college. So yeah.
Yeah, so how did you transition from that? Yeah, yeah, I thought I wanted to be a teacher as well. Because
Really?
my dad
What
was a teacher,
changed?
principal, and a superintendent. So like I was
Wow.
what yeah, when I was really little, he was going to school to get his PhD and also working. So it's like I saw
Wow.
this, work hard, play hard kind of thing and being immersed and like always like waiting for my dad for whatever he had going on because he totally was immersed in whatever school he was in and being there for all of the extracurriculars and all of the things. And so then that meant that I was there. So either I got involved in extracurriculars and things, but either way, I still ended up kind of like spending a lot of time in his office. And I saw a lot of the inner workings of how it was. And I just kind of thought, like, yeah, I think I want to do that. And he
Yeah.
cautioned me, like, girl, I don't think teaching is going to support the lifestyle I think you want to be accustomed to. And I was like,
Oh,
what?
interesting.
What are you saying? And so
I,
he also said, you don't have to be an educator to educate. There are plenty of people in companies that also are helping people learn and teach them along. And I really feel strongly that your path is outside of a school. So why don't you consider that? I was a little bit bummed, and especially like as an RA in college and things, seeing kids on the floor who were in education making like their final projects were like poster boards with macaroni, and I'm like, I want to be gluing macaroni like for real, like, but anyway,
yeah.
um so I tried to make bulletin boards for the people on my floor, and that was like my inner, letting out my inner teacher.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than bulletin boards, I get it, but yeah, then
I
seeing
love
my
that.
own kids, like high school kids are a different breed of
Yeah.
human because they are becoming independent and finding their voice, and
Yeah.
intelligence and emotional intelligence may not be equal. So sometimes, well, oftentimes teachers are not being treated with the utmost of appreciation and respect. So
Yeah.
how was that? Yeah. Was
Uh,
that your
well,
experience, or is it just like you're so young, you what? Yeah.
oh, yeah. I mean, it was a rude awakening. And it's interesting going back to your story, what you just shared. Um, it sounds like your father was very wise, right? He knew his direction, maybe in his generation when he was doing work, but he helped support you
Yeah.
in something that was related, but maybe would fit more your generation and what you were trying to do. And I think similar to what you just said, I moved down that direction, as you just said about
Yes.
corporate learning and development, but it took me time to realize that. It's great that you had a father who was wise in those ways,
Yeah.
right? Um, to guide you in that way. So I just wanted to say that that sounds really um, wonderful to have that kind of mentorship from your father.
To try. Of course, I didn't listen in fully, right? And I didn't. Yeah. But
Of course
it's
not.
still.
Right.
I think that's just part of the thing. Is like if you hear it from somebody else, it's like, oh, great idea. You hear it from your
Yeah.
parents who mean the utmost for you. It's just like, what? Okay.
I know, I know.
So
Dad, mom.
exactly. What are you talking about? I know everything.
But then
And I'm
later on in
experienced.
life, we become just like them.
Well, yes, I think so. I think we take the good, we take the best parts to try to pass on, and the other
Yeah,
parts
yeah,
to work on. So,
exactly.
okay, so how did you then move from the high school teacher to your next thing? Did the university teaching come right after that, or was there a step in between?
Yeah, so um like I said, when I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I went to school, I got a degree in linguistics, not education, but still knew that I wanted to go into teaching. So, I had these bold visions of helping the next generation uh, really become strong critical thinkers and to learn more about themselves and the society to help the world become better. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Then I got in there and Hawaii, I was teaching at a Hawaii public school, and it's one of I think it's 49th or something
Oh,
of,
wow.
yeah, like one of the lowest in public education, right? In terms of pass rates and other things at that time. I don't remember the exact statistic, but the education system was very uh, needed work. Anyway, so I go in, all excited and realized that a lot of the students didn't care. They didn't want to be there, right?
Mm.
They felt forced to be there. And then um, the parents, right, a lot of them were just ambivalent and they didn't really care what they were doing or what we were doing and any issues or problems that we had. They just, so it's just very demotivating. And it just made me realize maybe this isn't what
Yeah.
I want to do anymore. But, I, I spoke with my friends and my family and even professors that I had in college. And what they encouraged me is they said, well, maybe teaching high school just isn't the best fit for you, but maybe it's teaching something else. So, why don't you consider college, right? And look,
Yeah.
teaching university, right? So, long story short, I taught in Hawaii for a few years. I but applied to graduate school in San Francisco, and made it to a master's program there in applied linguistics with a focus on English education. Um, and did that and then started working a few years after I finished my master's, teaching undergraduate English rhetoric classes, composition, and then graduate classes uh, in art and design
Yeah.
and languages, what have you. So um, that's kind of the next path that I took in the education field. But with that, I I didn't have to deal with parents anymore. I did have to deal with some ambivalent students who didn't care so much
Yeah.
about the classes, but I felt like the institutional issues that I had in high school were still there in just slightly different ways, like masqueraded as something a little bit different, but it kind of ended up being the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so this whole dream of what I imagined being a teacher was, and then being a lecturer, it just ended up being not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed enough, what I
Absolutely.
was doing. I wasn't miserable, but um, I knew that it wasn't a path that I could do forever. But then I didn't know what else I could do. I felt like Keith equals teacher, and that was my whole identity. So
Now
what
what do I
are
do?
you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
yet, it's also
know?
important that you're kind of like recognizing some of these symptoms and patterns and how it's feeling to be in that position that you thought you wanted, but then from the
Yeah.
inside lens, that perspective becomes a little different. I also want to do one quick point on the parents of high schoolers because I have a very different perspective of this now that I've had two of my own. And I just wonder because like when my kids have had something like in elementary school and middle school, elementary school more so. I was there a lot. I was volunteering. I was very very involved because it was, again, my inner dream of, can I help with your bulletin boards and whatever is going on and plan the name tags and the field trips? Anyway, whatever. But when they
Yes.
got to high school and they started having some challenges with different teachers and classes, they told me, do not reply. Don't reply. Don't engage, because they wanted to handle it on their own. And so that gave me a
Yeah.
different perspective, because I had thought, right, as well, like, oh, these kids, their parents must not care. And behind some children, there are absolutely parents who 100% care and are rooting from the home team, bench, and have been asked not to participate and play. And so, in that weird thing of trying to help your kids grow up and become, it's like, okay, well, really? Well, why aren't you doing this homework? Well, I think this homework is complete busy work and it's less than 10% of my grade. I already have a 100. I turn in some of them. And then when it becomes so much busy work that it's taking over my ability to enjoy my life, have fun, or do the work for other classes that are harder, I don't see why I need to do it. If I'm getting 100 on the test, why did I need to do that homework? And so I was like, oh, and meanwhile, the teacher is sending multiple notes, right? Your kid isn't turning their homework. Please help. I'd like for you to talk with you. And I'm like, ugh. My kid's saying, don't talk with
Yeah.
them. And so, like, I'm just saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
whole new, may not have been the case, but there
Yeah.
might have been some that care that just can't share for that
Yeah.
supporting independence. Imagine what your life would be like if your career aligned with who you are, what you do best, and actually fueled the life you want. At Next Success, we support all ages and stages through career transitions, from students exploring majors or careers to job seekers actively searching or reimagining their next move, to professionals committed to self-awareness and leadership growth. Stay connected and explore what's possible at nextsuccesscareers.com, and follow Next Success Method on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Oh, totally. I think that's a really good call out, right? And it's interesting. Uh, it's funny now that I'm saying this. I'm a very independent person, and I was when I was in high school.
Right.
Just because I taught high school doesn't mean that I was like the perfect student. I mean, I was very similar to what you're talking about, where I didn't turn everything in. You know
Right.
what I mean?
That's right. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, right.
Yeah.
But they're great humans. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I think like at least like from what I experienced and what I mean, and not wasn't so much around those small things like homework type of things, or even like telling the parents like, oh, they're really not doing well. It was more like um behavioral things, right? Where it was out of control, where we needed to call the police and get security.
wow. Wow.
That
That's
type
different.
of
That's next
stuff.
level. That's next level.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not like
That's next level. Okay. But also though, I just wonder, because of like the environment, if that school was rated so poorly, maybe there were just
yeah,
so many other things like in the whole hierarchy of needs that those students needed. They weren't
yeah,
able to get to that learning,
yeah.
loving thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think, to be honest, I think it's like a very different ball game there with the students. You're right. Like if you think about the hierarchy of needs, I wonder. Right, it's been more than 20 years now,
Yeah.
but it's yeah, it was a different experience. But I mean, I was fresh out of college and they hired me. And, I think that happens to a lot of teachers then and now,
Yeah.
where, there's a teacher shortage and
Yep.
new teachers tend to be thrown into, difficult schools a lot of times. And I was one of those.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And
Uh,
you followed your own inner knowing of, okay, there's got to be more than this. So you go and you
yeah.
get your master's degree stateside, and you
Yeah.
um then what? And then you're teaching, and then what? Because you're starting to feel this like, ooh, maybe this isn't it for me. And you're wondering, what do you do? Because you had this
Yeah.
identity of being a teacher. Then what did you flip into? You know?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things that I noticed that I had grown out of with teaching. For example, the pay was
Mm,
I was earning 27,000 a year. I was a lecturer also where I had to bid for classes each semester.
mm.
Nothing was guaranteed. No job stability. Also, career growth. I mean, yeah, I could teach other classes, but like I would basically be doing the same thing for 20, 30 years until I retired.
Yeah.
And I saw also my colleagues there who had been there for a while and they were miserable.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
the writing's on the wall. I don't want to do this anymore. But I had a breaking point or a point where I said enough is enough instead of just continuing to put up with it.
Yeah.
I I got into a car accident when I was riding a scooter or a moped. A car hit into me. I was in the hospital. Um, I was in the hospital. I called the university and I told them, "Hey, I can't come in teach my class. I don't know when I'll be able to come back because of the
Yeah.
accident." And they basically gaslit me. They were like, "Oh, well, then who's going to teach your class today? Who's going to do it the rest of the week? And then who's going to grade their essays and their final exam, right?" And
And you're
like,
like,
you don't,
I'm in the hospital. Where is the compassion?
right, right. And I'm like,
Oh, man.
and that's the HR of the university, right? And I'm like, bye. I'm not doing this
Yeah. Yeah.
anymore. It took me some time, but I finally left. I there's a lot of internal blocks, honestly, that
Yeah.
I had to sort through to realize that I'm more than just being a teacher, even though it's something that since early on in life I knew that I wanted to be. But I had to really go within to really understand more about myself, what my motivations were for going into teaching, and then seeing what are different paths that could fit for me when
Yeah.
I that identity wasn't something I wanted to be known for anymore. So
Did you do
yeah.
that work on your own, or was there someone who was a trusted person that helped you in that phase?
Yeah, it's interesting. So at that point I was teaching at an art and design university in San Francisco, Academy of Art University. And one of the perks there was we could take one course a semester, right? So
Oh,
I started doing that. So I was exploring myself, just different avenues in the art and design space to see what I was interested in. In terms of having like a coach or a guide to do this, I I didn't so much. I did go to see a career coach, but one a bit later on, and once I knew and decided that I wanted to move into the tech industry, she basically like, no, you don't have the type of background that they're looking for. They're looking for people from Harvard, Columbia, all of that. And it would just be really hard for you. I was like, okay,
yeah. You're
I'm
not
not going to
supporting
continue
me.
listening there.
You're not helping
Right,
me get the dream that I want. And you're kind of
right.
naysaying bye.
Ex- exactly. I'm like, not a coach. You're like, a naysay,
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
coach.
You're a
So,
demotivator.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I did a lot of exploration more on my own through taking classes and then just going to events, like networking events where I just met other
Nice.
people
Yes.
doing very different things. And I just was curious and wanted to learn about their life, right? And what they're doing, if they liked it, how would a new person with my background get into something like that? Even if I wasn't directly interested in what they were
It's just
doing,
the
I still
point.
wanted to know.
I want to
Yeah.
I want to pause on this. This is how you do it, folks. You become very interested in what other humans are doing. You start having conversations, you develop real relationships, and that then opens up more opportunities for you and for your career outside of what you've ever seen possible. So
Right.
either you need to find a career coach of someone who's been through it. And if you need to
Yeah.
have examples, there's one, two. Raise your hand, Keith. Two people here
Yeah.
who've gone through different
Yeah.
things, who understand and want to help you. And even as part of that, you need to put yourself out there, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start asking questions. When you are
Yeah.
authentic in exploring and being curious about other people and their journeys, that comes back to you in ways you can't even imagine. But you have to first put yourself and
Yeah.
realize, like, you don't have to have it all figured out. And the reality is no one has it all figured out. So
Right.
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yes.
Exactly. And I would say too, on top of that, in my journey and also with clients that I work with, it's like, don't go in there with a transaction mindset
Correct.
of like, oh, can you get me a job? Or, oh, can you intro
Right.
me to people? Just go into want to learn more about them and just see how you can support them and help them. And you can
Yes.
work together, but not going in with an agenda, which I know for job seekers can be hard because you want a job, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
things are work more organically than just so like than doing things so concrete like that, right?
Yep.
Because the world doesn't work in transactions. It works through stories.
Yes.
It works through building
Connection.
relationships.
Yes.
Connections. Yeah.
And you're planting seeds. Planting seeds and
Exactly.
watering them. And just like whether you're growing a grass, or you're growing a flower, or you're growing a mango tree, each seed is going to take different amounts of time between planting and harvest. And the reality is, if you're trying to grow yourself and in your career, you don't want all of them that come back in the next day or two. There are some that you nurture over time. You keep that connection, and great things do happen if you're showing up differently. Right? Those ones that go to
Yeah.
networking events and definitely, I want a job, I need a job, and here's my background, and can you help me with a job? And you're like, I don't know who the heck you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Person
Yeah.
versus the other one that's like, hey, this is my first time here. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure what to ask, but I'd love to know what brought you to this meeting, or what brought you to this event, and just being
Yeah.
curious. So yeah. Okay.
I
So you
love
go to
that.
these networking
Yeah.
things and you start exploring and being very curious about other people and what might it look like for someone like you. And then what happens from that?
Yeah.
Not
And
transactional, not that one meeting, but over time. Yeah.
yeah. For sure. So well, first, of course, and obviously I started learning more just about different the different roles and different areas within a corporate setting that I had no idea about, that I didn't know from being a lecturer or a teacher. So, I learned about operations and strategy and marketing and all these things, right? Um, and so that was great, right? That also helped me build confidence in just knowing at a high level how companies work in like larger corporations, right? So that was the first thing that helped me build my general overall confidence when I had these conversations after a lot of those just I want to get to know you conversations.
Yeah.
And then what I did notice is that and what I was doing during those conversations was also just, yes, like listening intently and just going in with curiosity, but really just seeing how I'm feeling about what they're saying and whether I see myself wanting to, yeah, if I just had some attraction to like what they were saying or what they were doing, or it's like, oh, great to know information, but maybe not. So from there, I was really drawn to the design space, in particular the UX space, and the design. And I met someone who's an instructional designer. I said, "Oh, that seems like a perfect fit, right, with my background and focusing more on the design side and more the creative side of things." So I I explored that a bit more, and I started going to instructional design specific events, reached out to people on LinkedIn similarly, though, just to hear their story, how they got into it, what path they took when they started, all of that. And that again helped me build more confidence and just kind of understand more of what the landscape was. But keep in mind, this was all while I was transitioning. So I wasn't like, um, I needed more information in order to know how I could position myself
Yep.
and make myself really stand out to potential employers when I'd never worked in corporate before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's like it's
yeah,
kind of back to the theater thing a little bit, and you're learning about the
yeah,
characters, and you're learning about the roles available, and you're learning about how you
exactly.
can best show up to land that
Yeah,
role, honestly, you know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. Excuse me. It's the same thing if you think about it, where when you are studying for a role that you're playing, you do a lot of research on the characters. You watch TV shows that they were in or,
Yep.
plays that they were in, and you see their mannerisms. Or if you don't have that, you look at people who are similar, right? How they walk, how they talk, what their priorities are, all of that. And you start embodying those, not to copy necessarily, but to embrace that to see how you can make something your own.
Yeah.
And in this case, like a hybrid version where I'm embodying a lot of those things, but also doing it my own way. 'Cause, see, I don't want to be a copycat
Right, right,
100%,
right, right.
but
It's data. It's
it's finding
foundational
that
data. Yeah.
balance.
Like
Yeah,
what's the starting line and how can you enhance? Okay. So then you
yeah,
have
exactly.
this whirlwind of careers in many well-known places. Tell a little bit about those experiences.
Yeah. So long story short, I did transition into design, instructional design, and then later on program management and leadership in large tech companies in the Bay Area, right? I became a product of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So
Great
I
area to
worked
be.
at,
Yeah.
yeah, especially in the tech industry, which is where I finally figured out that I wanted to move into. And my first role outside of education was at Google as a developer and designer. And then I moved into other companies, including, well, YouTube. I moved from the Google side to YouTube side. It's owned by Alphabet. So that was an easy transition. And also worked at Uber, Meta, DoorDash, a few startups, all within a 8-year period. And I felt like that education piece was like the first piece of my career, right? And then at that point, I was in this second phase of my career. Really, it's still taking what I learned and grew in from my first phase, but bringing it into a new context, a new area in the corporate space, which is very different, but still I leaned on those skills that I developed and been interested in ever since an early age. So,
Yeah. And you saw a
yeah.
lot about how people get positioned for new positions, for new roles, and like, who got it, who didn't get it, while you're also helping, level up their internal learning.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Because you had a lot of great experiences on your own, and then what did you try to fashion them into? Or, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. 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 Well, starting out, one very big difference between higher ed and corporate is in higher ed and teaching, you're doing everything, right? There's so many responsibilities you have. Once you move into corporate, you become more of a specialist in whatever you're doing. One thing that I loved in teaching was mentoring and working with people who are at previous stages in whatever I was more of
yeah,
an expert in and guiding them to be where I was at the time. And that in a corporate setting led towards my interest in becoming a leader, right? And what happened to me at Google and YouTube and Uber was I was trying to position myself to be promoted into like a manager role or a lead role. And I was always told by my manager and even other managers, like, wow, you're so great at what you're doing. you're really great, thank you, so amazing. But then when push came to shove, when it came to the calibration rooms, when they are considering promotions, I would always hear, "Oh, you're great, but,"
Mm,
right? Or you need to have more presence. You need to have more like uh, you need to advocate for yourself more. All of these really vague things.
yeah.
Like, what really are you saying? What's really going on here? Because hearing one thing with my manager during one-on-ones or with other leaders on the same level as them, but then it's not going through. And I'm hearing, honestly, like these vague BS,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
things. I'm like, I can't action on this. And I know who I am and what value I have brought in higher ed that I can bring here in terms of mentoring, guiding, and leading, and shaping an example for a team. But that didn't translate until I really started to dig into honestly a bit of the psychology and sociology of like what's really going on
Yeah.
here. And what I realized it starts with me, but it's actually a lot more about how they perceive me
Mm,
and what signals I'm putting out there to signal that I'm ready, to signal that I'm someone they can trust
yep.
to put into that next level and someone that they feel is safe enough to put in that next level where like they're not risking their reputation,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's just a very different mindset. Once I learned that and really embraced that and did that, I then moved from lead to manager, director, VP, fairly quickly within just a few years. So, um, yeah. And now I help people do the same thing because no one taught me this. No one teaches this at all, really. And I think it's something that's so valuable for people who know internally that they are like a natural leader, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
a core piece of their personality, but they just don't know how to translate that um, it subconsciously in a lot of ways, right? Besides just like these obvious, like speak more during meetings, like don't say this, say this, right? There's like a deeper layer there that um, you need to get to know that no one really teaches. So now I teach and guide people on how to do that to land promotions or higher level roles from where they currently are on average within the next promotion cycle or for people who are moving like from manager to director, director from VP, then about 6 months because the hiring for leadership roles is a bit higher. So
Yeah.
um, that's essentially what I do now. Yeah,
Which is
that's a
awesome. So
lot.
yeah,
I know.
no, it's I love it. I love it because you went through our clients are us a few years before, right? And you went
Exactly.
through these experiences and noted so many things about them. And you've now decided to be the one who helps with that unmet need. And I
Yeah.
saw so many people unfulfilled, yet very externally successful. And I was like, what in the world? How is it? And I was even one of those people before. And so it's like, how is it that this is a recurring theme? And I was like, man, God, why do you keep doing this? And it was like, ha, 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 that's why you're here. And I was like, oh, I guess it's for me to help with. And so for you to keep seeing, you knew internally you had developed these, not only this desire that's put on your heart of like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be leading. I want to be in this thing. I want to share and help educate and bring the next, generation along. But then to be getting blocked by things that were out of your control and not knowing
Yeah.
what they were, then finally honing in on that, unlocking your own next success and steps into that, and now unlocking that for so many other people. Okay.
Yeah.
How do people find you? How do people work with you? Because you've got so much wisdom and great things to share.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, before I share that, I just want to say like a common theme in my discovery of myself and how I became who I am, not just in my career, but in life, is really taking things that were unconscious or subconscious for me and bringing that into the consciousness. And I believe that that is really the point evolution and
Yeah.
growth for all of us. So anyway, if what I talked about kind of really moving into this next level of your leadership role, if that seems like something that you're looking to do but have been blocked and just have been getting that "you're great, but" answer, I would love to invite you to my free but selective community where there's like a small application on the website to see if it's a good fit. And that community link is at www.careeralchemylab.com/leader. So yeah, and in the community, you'll meet other like-minded folks. We have biweekly calls where you can get to know me and them and see how we can support each other in growth in this next level. And then there's also an opportunity if you join this to schedule one-on-one with me, and we can. I help people either a little bit or a lot of it, depending on what they want and need. So we could just get to know each other and see if there's a fit.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And now for you, from this vantage point, I'm big on authentic success, and that's not what the world says, but it's what you say. So how do you define success for yourself from this vantage point?
So just overall success to me is feeling in my gut that what I'm doing is uh, aligned with who I want to be and become. And that feeling that I have is just a place of ease and comfort, right? And even when I explore new things, I'm very love to explore and move into other things. That's my signal that like this is the right direction. So that's what I consider success for myself. And I know my mission in life is really help people evolve to become that next level leader or that next level person, whatever that may be. And with that mission and goal, everything that I do aligns in that. As I grow, I help other people grow. And my alignment internally, as I mentioned, is how I know that that is successful. And it is going to manifest even if it hasn't yet. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Keith, for sharing more of
Yeah.
your story. And I wish you
Right.
the utmost success in your business. And we're connected for life now. So I'm here to help however I can and
Yeah.
support your people, your community. Please, let's keep in
Yeah.
touch and let's keep cheering each other on because we're serving
Yeah.
similar but different needs, definitely.
Exactly, Carolyn. And I have loved this conversation. I hope that the people listening also love what we're talking about or resonate with
Yes.
it. And, let's all, listeners, you, me, let's all continue helping people and make the world a better place. So, yeah.
I love it. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Keith, thank you for naming the part that nobody teaches. You took that familiar moment so many high performers live through, the praise without the promotion, and you made it actionable. If you're listening and you've been stuck in vague feedback, let this be your reset. You can become the obvious choice. You can lead with clarity. You can move forward with strategy that matches your ability. Thanks for listening to Your Next Success with Dr. Carolyn Sengel. Remember, authentic success is yours to define and includes aligning your career to support the life you want.